What is up, everybody? My name is Alex, and welcome to The Broth, the most fun, serious show on the internet. We're here live in the cauldron, and I am very happy today to start our final episode in this three-part series on biblical cosmology and the reality of our living in a level realm created by God and not on a magic spinning water ball hurtling through a void, which will sound more and more ridiculous to you the more you walk around the world. If you do, no shade if you don't. But if you walk around the world with the understanding of the biblical cosmology for a while, it really just becomes bizarre that you will wonder at how they ever fooled you. That was definitely my experience and the experience of other people that I know. I'm gonna play a couple audio clips for you in a second as I pull them up. I'm just gonna let some music play for a minute, and then we'll get into today's episode. Is going to be fun. So, episode one, we debunked the so-called proofs of the globe, and I went through every single significant one in history chronologically, and showed that none of them hold up to scrutiny. Even the scrutiny of a amateur schlub like myself, they all fall apart. Let's get this going. Yeah, I'll get that going in 1 second. But episode two, let's do a little recap. Episode two, we went through we actually went through a small portion of the lines in the Bible that don't jive with a spinning ball, and that together proclaim what biblical cosmology is. It says over 20 times that the earth is not moving. And we looked at some people straw manning our arguments, trying to claim that it's the same thing as taking the phrase that Levi was still in someone's loins, as do we think Levi is literally in the testicles of his dad, and stuff like that. And talk with complete disdain and condescension for those of us, the faithful of us, who are looking at the Bible over what our Masonic and Jewish created textbooks tell us. So that's something that really stood out to me yesterday, was this idea that just noticing the condescension of these people, I think generally faithful Christians, sincere Christians, noticing that they're taking the same tone with us flat earthers, whatever you want to call us. I call it biblical cosmology, level realm believers, enclosed realm believers. These sincere Christians taking the same tone with us that atheists take with believers. Just condescension, you stupid idiots, and treating us like we are the ones. Hey, everybody. We are the ones that are the problem. We are the ones in the way of progress. We're the ones making everybody look bad. We're why, blah, 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 blah. It's literally the same tone that atheists take with Christians in general when they tell us we believe in Sky Daddy. And it's remarkable. My buddy in our group chat made this point, that he finds it remarkable the voraciousness that some Christians will have to defend the spinning ball as if it's an element of our faith, as if it doesn't come from the same world that hates our faith, as if it doesn't come from the same world that has invented many lies that we believe. Now, I do understand that it is hard to conceive of the scope of this lie And I've learned a great deal of other things that really where it starts fitting together, because that's really the biggest hurdle, especially for Christians, is like, yeah, it's like, sure, I could believe, I mean, I know God created us, I know God loves us, I know the Bible doesn't talk about space, but like, what about all of the, what about the, like, how many people would have to be in on it and such like that. And one of the things that happened for me was I started realizing, like, everybody has like a first lie, big lie that cracks open their view of reality, one that really makes them go like, well, hold up, you know. And for a lot of people, it was the the illness, the alleged illness, and the reaction, and how worldwide it was, and how suppressed different views were, how controlled the information was, and how many people it seemed like would have to be involved with that. It was on a similar scale as something like this, except for just it was over a few years, not over hundreds of years, or depending on how you look at it, even millennia. I think that it's really this whole globe thing really goes back just a couple hundred years. And I've learned some other things about where we are right now in terms of the biblical timeline that kind of makes sense. Makes it a lot more understandable that we would be living with such lies. I'm not starting soon. I'm going. And just to give a little teaser, because I'm going to be doing these videos shortly, it is the idea that we are currently in Satan's little season, as described in Revelations. What that would mean, the big hurdle to believe that, I mean, I think most of us Christians we're aware of how much evil there is in the world right now, and it's really not a stretch to think, like, like I feel like as soon as you hear that, you're like, oh yeah, that would make sense. Like satanic people in the government, all the Pizzagate stuff, and who's the father of lies? Who's the prince of deception and all that stuff? So anyway, I'm going to talk about that soon. I actually have been getting really into that lately. I just like learned a lot more new information about that, and it really started all fitting together for me. And I was really excited. I am really excited to talk about it here. But I thought two things. One, let me dig in a little bit more, get my feet under me a little bit better, understand a few more things, do some more research. And two, I think it would be beneficial to my audience, such that it is high in quality, that's for sure. And to lay out some of this biblical cosmology stuff first, because if I could see you going in either order, but a lot of people that learn about, end up being believing that we're in Satan's little season, and the biblical cosmologists, there's a lot of overlap, and usually people get to biblical cosmology first. And there's an interesting evolution happening in whatever you want to call it, conspiracy, the truther movement, whatever, where like there's certain things that have gone sort of viral in that community, where everybody, all of us, like it takes a hold of the community, and a lot of people are talking about it. And I'm a little behind. I used to be like really up on everything, but this Satan's little season thing has been a big thing for the last few years. And back in like 2016, the flat Earth stuff was huge, and there were tons of channels on YouTube talking about it, and YouTube purged them all. It's one of the most censored subjects out there, which should tell you something right there. Chunky says the Earth. He says one thing disproves flat Earth: the Earth is shaped like Fat Yoshi. Man, you make a compelling case. All right, so I want to play. It's a couple things here. Tell me if the audio's going to be kind of bad. Well, let's see. How do I? Maybe I can grab this from the computer instead of playing it on the phone over the mic, because that's going to sound crappy and unprofessional. But it's also kind of unprofessional for me to be looking for stuff. So it's kind of like darned if you do and darned if you don't, you know? Producers, excuse me, pull it. Jamie, can you pull this up? All right, I'm just gonna play it. This is the homie from the group chat. I won't dox his name or anything, but we're having a conversation about discovering this truth about our reality, about the shape of the Earth.
It's a tough pill to swallow. I was resistant myself for a long time. I would consider it, and then I'd be like, no, this is bullshit. Oh, this is the flat Earth psyop. And I've probably told the story a few times to some people in this group chat, but I distinctly remember when I finally accepted it. I was standing on a beach in New York, in Queens, after I had seen all the videos of the P-1000, whatever, P-100 disappearing ship videos, and it just hit me like, yeah, this motherfucker is flat. Holy shit. And then I immediately had a giant, panic attack because of the scope of the lie, the depth and breadth of the lie, scared the hell out of me. Like, holy fucking shit. It's so colossally huge, humongous, and so important that they would have to, expend so much energy to hammer in the globe model that it's huge. And I remember saying in the group chat, the reason I even considered it again because of a group chat I was in, and Flat Earthers in there, and I remember prior to that being like, dude, it doesn't matter what shape the Earth is, Bob, I still have to go to work tomorrow. And that was a really naive, short-sighted thing to say because it literally changes everything. It changes in ways you can't even articulate. I can't articulate. This is it. This is all there is. And just that perspective change is monumental.
$400.
Yeah.
It's a tough.
So he gave me permission to share that with you guys. I kind of want to make an edit with that. I'm going to play my response.
With this job, it's a tough pill to swallow.
$400.
I don't know where mine is. A little bit of Nick in there. Well, I can just give mine in my own words here. We're doing it. Screw it. We'll do it live. So when I was going over this stuff, I was living in a beautiful place in Guatemala, and I had a view from my outdoor, semi-outdoor living room. In Guatemala, the weather's nice all the time, so a lot of the living space is sort of outside. And I was waking up every morning at 5 a.m. for a year, 8 months maybe, and having my coffee and watching the sunrise, which looked like this. All right, so this is from our place. A remarkable thing about living abroad sometimes is a place with a view like this was $500 a month, and it's just a spectacular. And I'm looking at this water, and as I said recently, I had let me position that a little better. Here we go. Now we're talking. As I said recently, I started looking into this to prove my friends wrong, because I wanted to do them a favor and allow them to stop making fools of themselves going around like idiots expressing a belief in something that was so stupid. It's literally, I was so arrogant about it. And I went through some of the same, you actually go through like the phases of grief, like my buddy was sort of describing there, where they're like, well, even if it is, it doesn't even matter, and you're like, and then you're dealing with the lie. But at this point, I knew when I was looking into this, I already knew Satan was a real being that is like definitely affecting the world, and that helped. Um, but anyway, so I'm having my coffee in the mornings, and I'm doing this research, and there's this flat water in front of me. And I got to a point in the research, and that's a lot of what we're going to focus on in today's episode, which is this: 8 inches per mile squared. 8 inches per mile squared is the rule. You get this nice and centered. Boink. The rule of thumb to determine the drop height due to the curvature of the Earth. However, this says it is not accurate for determining the amount of obstruction, as it does not account for the observer's height, sure, that's easy to add in, and atmospheric refraction. So this is a website dedicated to preserving the lie of the globe. It will debunk most of what I said in a straw man sort of way, and I could respond to any one of these things and debunk. Like, I'm not saying I know everything about this subject, but like almost never does anything come up, because what happened was, I'm trying to prove my friends wrong. I realize I can't. There's no proof, and that's remarkable. And by the time I figured that out, I was just hooked on the subject. I was like, okay, this is awesome. I'm having a blast. Like, I'm doing geometry. I'm doing experiments in real life. I'm learning things about the 1800s. Like, this is my type of deal. So I just got hooked on it. So like, yeah, like, if you send me stuff that says I'm wrong about any of this, if I don't know the answer, I'll find it. So yeah, I like how I Google it. The first thing Google shows me is this thing that's supposed to debunk it. And what it says is it doesn't account for the height. That's true. If you are 500 feet up, you can see farther. Everybody understands that. And you really are just adding or subtracting 500 on either side of the formula. It doesn't really change anything. And it also says it doesn't account for atmospheric refraction, which is going to be their answer to almost everything that I'm showing you. So we'll just get ahead of that and say this. Atmospheric refraction is, according to them, a magical phenomena that has no defined, that I can ever find, like causes. So what they tell you is this. You see this, okay, so you're on a curve and you're looking straight. And what you can see is the red line. What's in your line of sight is this red line. But thanks to atmospheric refraction, what you're actually seeing is this green line. Actually, that's not really exactly what they're saying. They're saying that you're about 5,000 feet up in up in the air right here, and that you should be looking like this doesn't make any sense. Anyway, the point is that this is geometry that approximates curvature of a ball the size of the ball that we're allegedly standing on. Now, when I first was looking into this and I was talking about it, a bunch of math geeks started yelling at me about what an idiot I was, because this is a parabolic formula. If you put this into like a graph with an XY axis, it creates a parabola, not a circle. Okay, well, that's true, but the formula for a circle is the reference point is the center of the circle, And the nice thing about a parabola, it's also much more complicated, much more complicated calculation formula. The nice thing about the parabola is that the point of reference is from the top, and that is my point of reference. If I'm standing on a ball, I feel like I'm on the top of it, and so it describes how the Earth falls away from you as it goes out, and it is accurate up to about 400 miles. So anything less than 400 miles, you're very close to dead on accurate with this. So functionally, this works just fine. And they just tell you that the light bends around the globe, so it looks like you're looking flat, but they're not. Chunky says parabola is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are constants. Yes. I remember that vaguely. It's been a while. But I believe since we don't need to worry about shifting where the top of the parabola is on the x or y axis, then, and because it's a simple parabola, we can skip the a, b, and c. So it's y equals x squared ax squared. So 8 inches per mile squared, that's like this, right? So say a miles, here, let me just grab like, eight inches times the amount of miles. So let's say that's A. So I don't know if it's been a while, but I don't know if 8 inches is A or X. So maybe that's X. But A is inches per mile squared. I believe so. In any case, this works. Like, it's been a long time since I've done the geometry. But people, like, this isn't a flat earther thing, what I'm showing you. This is, people agree on this. Like, the people who think we're retards will agree that does calculate the slope of the Earth falling away from you for up to 400 miles accurately. So I'm telling a story. So where am I at here? So I'm drinking coffee. I'm looking at this view, and I'm trying to prove my friends wrong. And I get hooked on it, and I come to find that formula. And so I use this tool, which I can get an overhead map. It uses Google Maps, and I can put a point one place and a point the other place, and have it draw a straight line, and it'll tell me quite precisely the distance. So I calculate the distance of over here where this little dock is, where you get on a boat, and the farthest distance across the lake, and it's about 7 miles. So we can, let's just grab a calculator here. So we got 8 inches times this is the worst calculator ever. Here we go. 8 inches times 7 miles squared. 392 inches, and divide that by 12 for inches in a foot. 32 feet and 2/3. And here's this number. Well, it's 2/3, so 32 feet. And so I'm like, so that's how many feet one side of the shoreline from one side of the lake should be from the other shoreline. Now, if I'm about 6 feet tall, subtract 6 feet from it. And I saw that and I'm looking at the lake and I'm like, well, no, though, because I've been on, and at this point I'm still quite skeptical about this, but I'm like, no, though, because I've been on this side and seen the light shine on the beach on the other side. And the beach on the other side only goes about 5 feet up. It's not like a big dune or anything. There's houses directly behind it, and you can see the first story of those houses. And oh yeah, I forgot Google has a good calculator. You're helping me out here, Chunks. So that was it, man. And I had already learned like a lot of stuff, like how, like I said, I went through all the proofs, found that they're all wrong, and that really opened my mind up. So then I started looking at more stuff, and we're gonna go through a number of proofs, like I said, that were not on a ball. And I'll steel man the counter arguments and talk about how they're like what their response is, and use your judgment. You tell me if what they're saying makes sense. So the first thing that a lot of people find is this photograph that was of the skyline of Chicago from Michigan. Now this is quite a ways. So people were in, I believe it was Benton Harbor up here. There's a beach somewhere over here. There's a guy there, and he had a nice clear day, and he took a picture and captured the Chicago skyline. And this wasn't a flat earther or anything. This was just a photographer. And this distance is like 50 miles. So you're right. I can just use Google. 50 miles times 50 miles times 8 inches divided by 12. That should work because just order of operations is straight across. 1,666 feet. Now the buildings are not that tall. And where's the skyline image? Didn't I get that? See, now they put a ton of other images, but this used to come up like immediately. Most of these are just from boats. Yeah, they bury this stuff pretty good. I think this is the one. This is the one. So because of perspective, you get some dip. But for one thing, I'd like to point out that these buildings are going straight up and down. They should be tilting away from you if this is supposed to be 1,000 feet curved away from you, right? So they have an explanation, and here it is. This is one of our people. Alright, that was cool. What they'll tell you is that it's a mirage. Let's see if I can find that real quick. I got off work a little closer to the time to go. I didn't prepare as much as I wanted to, but Chicago skyline photo mirage news guy. Here we go.
Chief Meteorologist Tom Coombs here, and I want to talk about mirage. I thought it wasn't that big of a deal when I shared this picture about a year ago from Joshua. You could see the entire Chicago skyline all the way down to almost the shore of Chicago from the shores of Lake Michigan. Something I said was impossible, at least under normal conditions. This had to be a mirage or some sort of focusing by the atmosphere because there was a big inversion that night. Thought it was pretty straightforward. Did a quick 30-second explainer on air and moved on with my weathercast. Well, email after email later. This is just a few of those emails. Facebook posts, comments. I was shocked to find out that there are a number of people that believe the Earth is still flat and that to them, this is actually proof that the Earth is flat. One person just questioning me and asking me for a retraction of the articles and lies. A lot of people try and kind of be nice about it. Well, are you sure you did it right? And then they send me links that the Earth is flat. And some are just pretty straightforward about it. And they title replies calling me a deceiver and that I should check my degree or quit telling lies on television.
He don't know.
Got me questioning a lot of things. Were my calculations right? I looked into it, I did research, and I thought, I've got to see this for myself. And so we climbed the dunes, and I'm really excited about our story that we're going to be doing coming up Thursday at 11, Skyline Skepticism, where we tell you, is this a mirage? Is it something else? What is the science behind this? And I also want to go over the science of why you can't see past the horizon or how far you can see.
Look how tall this person would have to be.
Pretend that we're on the Earth here. Here's the circle. This is basic mathematics that was proven hundreds of, even thousands of years ago, where you're the observer here. Of course, we have the radius here.
When you're looking at the horizon, are you looking down like that?
That's how far you can see. If you're on,
even if you're on a plane,
the sea level or right near the surface,
the horizon's at your eye level.
But you've changed your height or the height of the object, and you can see much further. Think about if you're standing on top of the dunes or you're on top of the Sears Tower. You can see
dunes are like
farther.
20 feet tall.
Behind this, you may remember this, the Pythagorean theorem. You may be groaning from middle school math class, but if you kind of move around the terms, it comes out to you can actually figure things out. We're going to talk more about that on our website, abc57.com. An article, we've got a nice little calculator where you can figure out the height of objects and how far you can see. To when you go out to Lake Michigan, you can figure out how far you're actually sitting. Exciting story. Excited to tell you about it on ABC 57 News Thursday night at 11, Skyline Skepticism.
All right, so I guess if you're 700 feet tall, that might make a little bit of sense, but what the explanation really is that this is a mirage. That's what they always say. And like I said in the other episode, yes, there are tricks of light. Yes, there are mirages are a thing. They don't do this. A mirage in the desert is when heat across a flat plain of desert causes like things like mountains to look upside down, and that is a completely different phenomenon to what they're claiming of where you're looking, the light is bending around a curve, which is something that they claim. Now, the other part of this is so the question becomes, like I said, you have to be, we all have to be skeptical if someone tells us to not believe our own eyes, right? So the question then is, okay, you say that this is a mirage and that light, they say water bends the light around the curve so it appears flat. And so a number of questions arise. One is, what are the conditions? The first one is, what are the conditions in which this happens? Because they're not suggesting it always does that. They don't say, well, anytime you look across water, it will look flat no matter how far you can see, but that's just a mirage or that's just a trick. They say that it depends on very specific circumstances. They say in rare cases, but they don't say anything about what those circumstances are. They won't tell you, does it matter if the water is choppy or smooth? Does it make it more likely to happen if the water's choppy or smooth? They don't tell you if very low humidity makes it more likely for this to happen. They don't tell you if the air being hot or cold makes a difference. So what are these very specific circumstances that cause this? Because that's the obvious next question. Now, from what I can tell, this is far from the only time this has happened. In fact, this happens all the time. And this was my experience on the lake of 7 Miles, where I'm looking at the sand on the beach from 5 feet 6 inches tall, where whatever my eye level is. Um, the only thing that needs to happen in order to see it is that it's clear enough to see that far, that the atmosphere is clear, and so then you can see that far. So that suggests, you know, that the light isn't bending, and people will point to this. Like, this is what refraction is. That the pencil looks like it's broken. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about, or this, right? The Pink Floyd thing. Like, that's refraction. You're right. The triangle makes you gay, right? So anyway, all right. So let's go through some proofs that the Earth is flat and the Bible is correct. Here, by the way, is England from France. Very similar distances of Chicago across Lake Michigan. Here we're obviously high up. We're maybe 100 feet above sea level. You can basically see the shoreline on the other side. This should be behind 1,000 something feet. We'll get into, I got the information right here. 21 miles, so it's shorter. So it should be 294 feet should be covered. But we're seeing the entire cliff face. The cliffs are 350 feet tall. So we're definitely seeing more than like a fifth of it. Yeah, they're like 8,000 miles tall on that. All right, so Chicago skyline across Lake Michigan's one. English Channel, Dover Cliffs from France. People see this all the time. This is not like this one time this guy caught this crazy photo because of light refraction, they were able to see it. Now, like the guy said, absolutely true. The higher up you are, the further you can see. That's not because the Earth is curving away from you. By the way, it never curves on the edges, does it? Right? It's like they think we're on like a toilet paper tube, right? It's like a cylinder curving away from you. That's not how a sphere works. But of course, if you get up high, you can see farther as long as it's clear. That's true with perspective. Anyone who learned to draw perspective when they're in elementary school or middle school or high school, learn that. And so there are instances of people seeing really far from high up. An example is Pikes Peak and Mount Teed. Pikes Peak, people are seeing 100 plus miles from the Colorado Plains. It should be, here's this number 666 in a way that is actually like is a little bit of a head scratcher. Here, I'll do this actually. Back to Google as a calculator here. So 8 inches per mile squared. So we got 8 inches times 100 miles times 100 miles. So we're doing this the usual calculation, but with 100 miles. Divide by 12 for 12 inches. What just happened? Okay, cool. 666 coming up again. So, from Pikes Peak, seeing over 100 miles, it should be behind 6,000 feet of drop. Mount Teed is visible 85 miles from the Canary Islands. It should be 4,800 feet of drop. Mountains allow you to see far. Now, I had an experience myself on an airplane. I was flying from New Mexico. Where was I going? I was flying from New Mexico to Idaho. Or actually, it was eastern Washington. And I could see the Gulf of California. That is very far. Here, and we were very high up. All right, so we're talking from here, I'm like here, and I was seeing the Gulf of California. I mean, it was very clear that that's what it was. I could see this bay, and then I could see the land behind it, and then I could see the ocean behind it. Absolutely not possible on a globe. So yeah, another seeing too far was the Bedford level experiment of 1838. 1838. People don't know this, but in the 1800s, the science was absolutely not settled. There were these like big names that allegedly, proved the Earth was a ball and blah blah blah. I just discredited those so-called proofs. Meanwhile, they don't get taught. And how fun would this be to learn as a kid? You want kids to be engaged in science and stuff. They're not taught about the experiments that seem to go the other way, and they're not taught that there were leading scientists in the 1800s, even the early 20th century, who were claiming that it's flat. And one of those experiments is called the Bedford level experiment. You can look this up. It was in 1838. They used a 6-mile long canal. Now, we would agree that water is either, if the Earth is flat, level water would be flat, and if it's curved, level water, it would be taking the curve of the Earth. Right? There's not flat spots of water, and if water took a flat spot, then the whole Pacific Ocean would be flat. Doesn't make any sense. So we can agree on that. Took a 6-mile canal, very similar to the distance I was looking at with the lake I was on. Chunky says, same with the Michelson-Morley experiment. Yes, I believe I'm going to get to that as well. Chunky says he sees what's going on with the formula. Cool. So Bedford level experiment, 6-mile canal, flags at the water level, 8 inches above the water level. He made little red flags every mile, I think. So every mile, little red flag going down the canal. And then they took a telescope and went on one side. Now, if the water was curved, you'd expect that each mile marker, the flag would be below the one in front of it. And he took it out and lined it up. They're all in a perfectly straight line. So I guess, your miracle your miracle refraction is in action once again. Hey, now, we don't all need to take my word for it or these guys' word for it. This is something that we can do ourselves, and this is what I experienced on the lake myself. So that's just a few examples. There's also examples of people in their diaries coming into Ellis Island reporting that, hey, we could see the Statue of Liberty, and talking about like where they were. There are ship captains talking about using, what do you call them, lighthouses as reference points, and talking about where they are in relation to it. Over 100 miles away. Lighthouses are not that tall. So there's tons of other stuff like that, but that's just a few examples. The next group of proofs I'm going to look at come from the engineering world. Now, if anybody needs to take this, the shape of the Earth seriously, it's engineers working on large-scale projects, right? Suez Canal, the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, aviation, stuff like that. They don't ever take it into account. The Suez Canal is 120 miles long, straight, no locks. 120 miles, it should be 9,600 feet of curvature. But it is built level end to end. There is no accounting for the curve whatsoever. Now, people will say, like, well, the Earth is so big you don't have to think about it. Okay, but scale matters. And if you're making something that is that big, 120 miles long, you're probably going to have to think about this. The Verrazano Narrows Bridge is 4,260 feet, almost a mile. Same thing, no consideration for curvature whatsoever. In aviation, they don't account for curvature or spin ever at all. Not even if you're using ultrasonic or hypersonic jets. Never. I met a guy who had a pilot's license who was a flat earther. He became one through going through pilot school and then flying. He said, they tell him, they tell all the pilots, assume a motionless flat Earth. And he's like, okay, why? And they're like, well, you just do it, and he's like, no, how does that work? He wanted to know, and they didn't have any answers for him. So he started looking for answers himself, came to the same conclusion. There's lots of flat Earth pilots out there. Most of them don't say peep about it, but some of them do. I have heard, I don't know if this is true, that pilots have a code of conduct when they're on the plane that they don't lie to passengers, which makes sense. It's like part of being, the steward, like you're responsible for their lives. Everybody needs to be safe. So there are people, they'll have a camera hidden, or maybe they'll have their phone out, and they'll ask the pilot, what do they think? And there's a couple, here we go. This is a great one.
I just got one question to ask. Flat or a ball?
Flat or a ball? What's that?
Well, I never feel as breaking round. If we live on a ball, surely we'd have to fly around it. Yeah, it feels like flat or a ball.
Flat, not a ball.
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
No.
No? What'd you see while we were up there?
This is the blue sky, white clouds.
Yeah, is it flat or
Pretty flat.
pretty flat?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Are you the pilot? Oh, okay. Am I allowed to say hi? Hey, I just want to say thanks for the smooth flight.
Right.
I did have one question. Is there like a specific angle of downward tilt you have to fly at to
3 degrees.
3 degrees
That's it.
for the curvature of the Earth?
Oh, for the Earth?
Because
No, we just fly over the troposphere.
really, but
Yeah.
do you have to keep like kind of going down because?
No, we actually have to nose up. It flies. Yeah.
Really? Because I was reading some stuff on the flat Earth that made a lot of sense. Have you looked into it?
Which one? Sorry.
I was reading a lot of stuff on the flat Earth.
Okay, yeah. True.
It's true?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
All
Hey,
right.
God bless, brother.
All right. Have a good
It
one.
gave me chills. Oh,
Did you
yeah,
notice
true.
any curvature while we were up there?
Curvature? No.
No, there's no curvature?
It's just all flat.
Hello, mate. How are you?
This is a good compilation.
I'm a fellow, Casey Josh. I'm a fellow, just PPL, though, pilot. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I've got a couple of serious questions to ask you.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, there's a big time. Curvature.
Curvature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't allow for curvature, do we?
Yeah. For anything, not for you usually.
No, we're round. We're a disc, aren't we? Round and flat.
Yeah.
Hey, look, honestly, quite seriously,
Yeah.
we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
What's up? What's up, pilots? Is the Earth flat or round?
Flat.
Thanks. I'm with you.
Boom. Just like that.
What's up?
They all know.
What's up, pilots? Is the Earth flat or round?
Flat.
Thanks. I'm with you.
Indeed. All right, so let's talk about some other technology that sees too far, because there's our eyeballs, but there's a lot of stuff out there that should work differently on a globe than it would on a level plane. For example, radar. Is radar counting on refraction to work? Does it have to be very special atmospheric circumstances that radar can work past, 25 miles for something that's 1,000 feet tall or whatever it is? Radar has a range of 200 to 300 miles. That should be 26,000 feet. That's almost as many feet as a cruising altitude of a plane at 200 miles. At 300 miles, we're talking about cruising altitude of a plane dip. Radar is seen around the curve, or is it in line of sight? Submarine periscopes Now, a submarine periscope, we're talking about water level, right? We're not talking about 100 feet up, 20 feet up. They poke that periscope a couple feet out of the water because they got to stay hidden. They have a range of 20 to 30 miles. That should be a 267 to 600 foot drop. You're not seeing nothing if there's 600 feet around. Oh, I had a quick... I'm back. Microwave lengths 50 to 70 mile range, 1,600 to 3,200 feet of missing curvature. Towers connect without being that tall. It's very simple. Then we have weapons. Weapons are a fun one. World War I 18-pound artillery, range 6.5 to 11 miles, aimed straight, no accounting for spin, no accounting for curvature, no hoping that they have refraction, that it lines up perfectly. They're putting you in the crosshairs and they're shooting straight at you. There should be a 28 to 81 foot drop that they would have to account for. They're not. An 88 millimeter flak gun, 9 mile range, 54 foot drop. They're hitting tanks, they're hitting airplanes, they're hitting moving airplanes without thinking about curvature, without thinking about spin. Sniper rifles, range of 2 miles, almost a 3 foot drop. It's not very much, but you're either going to count for that or not. They don't. Tomahawk missiles, radar maps terrain at 50 to 100 feet over hundreds of miles. No curvature needed. So, got one more category here. That is historical tests. I did talk about, which one did I talk about? The Bedford level experiments. Chunky mentioned Michelson-Morley. So, Michelson-Morley, Earth's drift from 1,000-mile-an-hour spin, they're testing it. They didn't find it. I forget what the details of that are. Hold on, let me get some more details here. All right, Bedford level we covered. The Bedford level experiment's fun because it includes drama between these two scientists. They were really feuding. And if I recall correctly, the Globe guy is a Freemason. I might be wrong about that. There's a lot of Freemasons involved in this stuff. It seems to be the realm of the Masons, this deception, all the way back from the beginning. There are things... the system that we live under, there's jurisdictions, and so there are things that are under the Masons' jurisdiction and things that are more under the global Jewry, and there's others. Michelson-Morley in Cleveland, Ohio. I didn't know that. That's where I grew up. Aimed to detect ether. Oh yeah, I talked about this the other day. They used mirrors. Yeah, I'm going to skip that one because that's more about the moving of the Earth, and we sort of talked about that 2 days ago. The Sagnac experiment, 1913. A French physicist tested whether rotational motion affected light's speed, building on the Michelson-Morley experiment. The apparatus's spin was detected via light shift, but no effect consistent with the Earth's supposed rotation. So they're detecting something. I'm guessing what they're detecting is the rotation of the stars in the firmament. But you'd expect that they would be able to consistently figure out the spin of the Earth. There's been modern laser tests. There was a big one recently where it was like, oh, flat Earth debunked forever. These guys tried to set out and prove that the Earth was flat, and failed and in fact proved the curvature. Oh, ha 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 ha. That was kind of funny for those of us who actually dig into this stuff, because those guys were known to us. We already knew them as shysters. So, that was obviously directed at the general public, not at the serious people looking into it. So there you have it. That's just some of them. There's a lot more. So yeah, not only, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Not only is there no proof that the Earth is a spinning ball, but there is actually quite a bit of proof that we live in a level realm created by God, and it's a life-changing thing to learn. One of the things I was saying in that audio that I was talking about, that was my audio. After I learned about this, I ended up in Glacier National Park for a summer, and it has some of the most beautiful hikes in America there. And taking these 12-mile plus hikes over mountains and stuff, knowing that I live in a realm created by God, and that I'm looking at the sky, knowing this is the firmament and heaven is above me, really took my breath away. And I think the devil doesn't want you to doesn't want you to feel close to God like that. I think that's a lot of it. That is a lot of the world we live in. That's the nature of living in Satan's little season, which it's looking like might be coming to an end pretty soon, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, that's my show for today. Thank you guys for joining me. Shout out to Chunky for hanging out with me. God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.